R for record, right? That's what that does?
Hey everyone, this is Melik, and welcome back to the King of Average podcast. As usual, I'm with the lovely
BB.
and today's
a good one.
Today's going to be a great one.
Today's a good one.
All right, BB, what are we going to be talking about today?
I don't know. Funny enough, I'm sitting back thinking about like this pre-recording talk that we just had right now, and I'm really trying to understand where did I just get this crackhead energy from?
You tell me.
I basically just going over the notes of today's episode. I pretty much just had a whole podcast right here in front of you, and then we hit the record button. So I'm excited. But today, let's not get too distracted off the topic because today's topic is all about focus.
Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to it, we talked about integrity. Last episode, and with that, we wanted to focus on the question of what makes a man. So that part was integrity. Today, we're going to be focusing on the continuation of it, which is going to be what makes a man. One of it is focus. How can you lock down on what really matters? You can really focus on the tasks at hand and so on and so forth. But when it comes down to focus, I feel like having focus is what sets you aside from the rest of the crowd. That person that's focused, that person's on go mode, that person automatically stands out because that person's getting stuff done.
I hate to be the one who talks about things without being able to back it up or give you the full story. But I remember there was something I saw online where it was some guy was explaining how he had a conversation with Warren Buffett and then some other billionaire. And they were asked, I guess, to write down a single word on a piece of paper. And it was the single most important quality a person could have for their overall success. Now, these two billionaires, they didn't share notes, they didn't discuss it. It was nothing. It was quite simply, they got the prompt, they got the paper and the pen, they wrote down what they wanted to write down, what they thought was the most important element, most important quality, and then they folded the paper and put it in a pile. Both of those billionaires said exactly the same thing, and both of their answers was the single word of focus. And the reality of the situation is, if you're able to focus your attention on something, as far as the big picture, right? As far as shrinking it down a little bit, right? Because then you something that's more attainable, and then shrinking it down to something even more attainable. Now shrinking it down to something that's within your reach. Literally being able to focus, first of all, before anything else, at the matter of hand. Now, whatever that matter may be, honestly, even if you're like a streamer who does nothing but game online, if your entire focus is revolved around getting back at that noob who called you a noob just because it affected your pride, and you make it your goal, your mission, and your focus to absolutely destroy them before you call it a night, that's the type of focus we're talking about.
I remember us talking about, we actually talk about this all the time, but it's like that uncle, or it's that guy from the community that has, some kids and stuff, and you're like, man, that grind on that guy, that focus, that hustle, that everything else is so inspirational with this guy being married, having kids, having mortgages, having this, having that. What really sets that person aside is focus. This person focuses on the goals that he might have, and he goes all in. He's not half butting it. This guy literally has everything to lose. Now, maybe with that mindset of, I have everything to lose, failure is not an option. That forces you to focus on the matter at hand. All your goals need to be accomplished in order for you to be successful, in order for your family to eat, in order for your family to be clothed. It kind of sounds dramatic, but to adapt that mindset of this is gonna succeed, failure is simply not an option. It forces a person to focus, to lock down on the vision that they have and just crush it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love how we always bring back this idea where failure is not an option. Where we have these uncles in our community who literally they had nothing, and now they have pretty much what you would call the American dream. I love how we always talk back about that subject. And I always find it interesting because I feel like, it helps with the motivational aspect of the conversation. When it comes down to the focusing on the matter at hand, and this whole idea of those people from our community who developed that focus, that sincere ability to just lock down whatever it is they need to get done they put their mind to it, and they just get it done. It ends up being, like I said, it's very motivational overall. But when it comes down to the specific thing that's sitting in front of you that you need to get done, what allows you, what's your thought process? And this is kind of directed straight to you. What's your thought process in getting that task completed as soon as possible before you move on to anything else?
So when I was a senior in high school, my English teacher taught me to, well, she used to always say this one saying to me, and she used to always say, eat the largest frog. Now hearing that, you're like, what the heck? That sounds just completely weird. But you just have to tackle on your biggest task and get that over with. Don't push it aside. Don't try to hype yourself up to eventually get the courage to do whatever it needs. No, tackle it on. It's a huge frog. It's going to be ugly. There's not going to be much satisfaction in doing what needs to be done. But that gives you no reason for you not to focus on that. That is honestly what kind of came to mind when you told me that, when you asked me that question. You got to eat the biggest frog. Get it over with. Because once it's done, the hardest part is done. It only gets easier from there.
So the reason why I asked that question, or the reason why I feel like I need to pose that question, is because, I got self-diagnosed ADD. Whatever you want to call it, I literally, when I sit down to get something done, and I go, okay, full on focus, my mind then goes, oh, is that my phone? Why is my head itchy? Are my pants on too tight? And literally my head just starts going into this weird boom, 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 back and forth headspace where quite simply focusing on the matter in front of me becomes difficult. Now, I know a lot of it revolves around my phone for sure. And that's why I physically throw my phone away from me sometimes. And I try to get really, really good at when a notification does come, I immediately ignore it and I act like, you know what? Nobody needs me right now. Because in this time, in this moment, I need to focus on what I need to get done. So that's the kind of question I'm asking.
I think it's as simple as being mindful. And it's clearly, I'm just going to simply say it. You got to focus on what loses your focus. Done. You know that your phone, whenever that's around, your notifications come up, pop up. You're like, I'm typing about it. I'm typing an essay. I'm doing work, whatever it is. Notification, Instagram, your attention focuses on that. You need to see what is distracting you, what is taking all of what you're thinking about, all your focus, what's taking it away, and move what's taking it away from you. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Literally, like I said, just physically throw it away.
Just move it.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
Now, if it's out of sight, eventually you're like, oh, I wonder who called me, texted me. But then
eventually you're just like, wow, I didn't even realize I haven't had my phone for the last hour.
You know what's crazy? One time I went and I had this almost like a salt bath pod. The weirdest thing ever. One of the friends went ahead and told me to come through. It was right next to his place in Costa Mesa.
Bath bomb or?
No.
Oh.
No. Think about like a pod, almost like a tanning bed, but it's filled up with Himalayan salt and water. So that way your body naturally just floats. And the only reason why I'm bringing the whole tanning bed is because the top completely closes. And it was the weirdest thing ever. I only was there for an hour. The first couple minutes, my mind is racing. This is awkward. What am I thinking about? Why the heck am I even over here? I'm kind of bored.
Yeah, you'd love to just watch a YouTube video while you're doing this.
Exactly. It forced me to be in a confined space for a whole hour. And then eventually, I thought about my whole life. And then I rethought about it. And then eventually, my mind was blank. It ran out. Eventually, I put myself in a position to be like, I'm over here right now. Focus. Enjoy it. Because we've all been to beautiful destinations before. And we're like, it's so beautiful, whether it's a beach, sunset, whether it's a place with a nice view. And then eventually it almost gets ruined with the immediate thought of, I wonder what I'm going to do next. I wonder what we're going to eat. I wonder what we're going to do after this. Is it not going to end? I don't want it to end. Whatever it is. Or
if a customer is trying to pick up your car, but your car is supposed to be somewhere, but now it's at someone's house and that someone's asleep. And
yes. But going back to it, it's you need to put yourself in positions where when I was in that position inside that pod, it was kind of uncomfortable. It was weird. But then eventually you get used to it and then you start focusing.
Oh, then you're done.
That's it, period.
That's fantastic. No, it blows my mind how you brought up the idea at the end right there about being uncomfortable. but then eventually being okay with it. 9 out of 10 times, when you sit there and you need to do something and you need to focus at the matter at hand, you need to give it your complete and undivided attention. The reason why your mind is hopping onto, what did this person DM me? What did this text message say? Blah, 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 this and that. And the reason why your mind keeps jumping away from the task at hand is because of the fact that some part of you internally does not want to do this. You quite simply do not want to do whatever the task at hand is. And so you have to accept the discomfort that you need to go through. And I think it's kind of beautiful, actually, when you start to recognize the situations that make you uncomfortable. When you sit there and you need to fill out an application, for example, and you're like, dude, this is going to take like 15 minutes of my time. This is so annoying, but you need to get it done. And you're like, I'm so uncomfortable doing this. I want to procrastinate it. What I think is such a beautiful concept to grasp is knowing when you're in uncomfortable situations, because they say the things that make you uncomfortable are the only things worth doing, which means at the end of completing this task, which is making you uncomfortable right now, at the end of it, there's going to be a result that you're looking for. There is going to be some sort of a reward. So I think that's awesome how you brought up the whole idea of being uncomfortable.
So you know what? When it comes down to focus, there's one line that I heard, and this is on like it was a rap song, pretty popular song, but I actually can't even tell you what the name of it is. You know what I think it is? I think it's called Ric Flair Drip.
It is.
Right? That line
Yeah.
was, put my mind on it, then I put my grind on it. You need to have a goal, a task that you want to be accomplished. Then once that's there, your focus automatically needs to come up and then go. Needs to go. The easiest example that I could think of is having a 6-month plan, a year plan, a 5-year plan. What do you want to accomplish? What is your, trajectory? Oh my God, I can't even say it. Oh my freaking gosh, can I really not say trajections?
Yeah,
your trajections in life. Gosh, goodness gracious, that was actually tough.
Goodness gracious. Malik says that often.
Yeah, right? Gee willikers. But you need to focus on your biggest thing that is going to push you and excel you in this life. Having goals, focus on it right away.
So this is, I guess, so what you're trying to say is this whole concept of putting your mind to something and then working your way towards it. You're talking about more of like having focus, but on a macro level.
I want a better body. You start going to the gym.
So you're talking about big picture stuff. You're talking about the macro level. You're talking about someone having a vision, someone having goals. I like that. And that's definitely, I always find it really interesting, especially for, like, this is like a perfect example for what you're saying here is someone who's getting married.
Yep.
Someone who's getting married, right? When someone finally meets someone, and, we've seen so many people go through this, right? Someone finally meets someone, and then they meet the family, whatever, this and that, and then eventually they get engaged. Boom. They make it official. And they go, okay, the wedding's going to be in 1 year. What I think is crazy is when they begin to focus on this goal of the wedding being in a year. What really ends up happening is, because, as it comes down to weddings, a lot of your financial decisions, you need to start sharpening them, right? So as they have that goal set in a year, the wedding's going to be taking place, they start to shape all of their financial decisions to better assist, or to be, better driven towards that goal of the wedding. They start putting money aside. They start saying, okay, we're going to go out less. Okay, we're going to spend less on dinners. Maybe we're going to hold off on going on vacation till after, right? So a lot of their financial decisions, their financial plannings starts revolving around this goal. So it literally shapes their financial focus, right? So having that goal further down the line, it really, similar to the idea how we were saying, hey, if you're going through a problem but you start thinking of the resolution, you will slowly, your mind and your body will start slowly working in the direction of the resolution. And out of nowhere, that resolution will come. Similar to having a goal. Once you put your focus on something down the line and you say, this is what I want accomplished, your big vision, your big goal, slowly but surely what you'll notice is your focus starts to fully revolve around it, to where every one of your actions, every financial decision, every investment, how early you wake up in the morning, what you eat, whatever the case is, it all starts revolving around that goal, that big picture of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
I feel like Your focus happens after your why.
Oh, your focus happens after your why.
Why are you doing what you need to do? Why is it so important? Why is it not that important? Once you figure out that, hey, look, I'm going to get married in a year, I need to set aside X amount of budget. Now, my partner and I both agree on it, and we start putting all these restrictions in place in order for us to get to our desired goal. There's a why, there's a reason. So it makes sense for you to eventually focus because you understand why.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. There definitely has to the why is definitely important, but I guess it also depends on the significance of the why. The significance of the why. Because I guess you can have your focus on certain goals, but something might be more important. So something might take up more of a priority. So it will take up more of your time and your resources to complete.
True.
But the why definitely is definitely a good point. And, as we mentioned before, whenever it comes down to, let's say, for example, what is that 1 year plan? What is that 5 year plan? What is it? Just like any vision, just like any goal, there has to be a structure developed. And going back to the topic of having vision, having structure, if you want your focus towards your goals to be elite, if you want it to actually be like a focus that works, you need to be following a structure. You need to have a structure for yourself so you know what to focus on, and it's not just a vague understanding, because vague understanding of it will definitely not get you far. Another important point when it comes down to building that elite level of focus is learning how and when to eliminate distractions.
Yep.
And the better you are at eliminating distractions, honestly, the faster things will be achieved. It's that simple.
I mean, you said it best when you said that, like, you really just got to focus on what matters most. I know we talked about it legit, like I said, focus on the matter at hand, but that all circles back to it, is because whenever you have distractions, there's always going to be there. And I said it a couple episodes ago, like, we always want to do what's fun, do what has some sort of pleasure to it, right? Whether it's, going out, doing this, doing that, it's not fun to be on a diet. It's not fun to just stay at your house and do absolutely nothing when your friends are hitting you up to do stuff that is going to be fun. You guys are going to laugh. It's going to be great and stuff like that. But not saying that that's always wrong or that's always bad, but there's a time and there's a place.
Yeah, and you definitely have to learn how to say no. I think that's one of my biggest issues for sure. And funny enough, Matic and I have been friends for quite a long time. Alhamdulillah. And we've had a circle of friends that we've hung out with for quite a long time as well. Like our tight knit group has been pretty active for a while. And funny enough, one of the biggest learning points in my life, that when I was going through like the early days of college, one of the things I started to realize, and this is just me really putting myself out there to be honest, one of the things I started to realize was I was putting my friends and I was putting their pleasure and hanging out with them as a priority over my schoolwork, as a priority over my personal health. There was so many situations where I caught myself being the only one trying to do something, right? Or being the only one who shouldn't be joining them for whatever activities they're planning. I shouldn't be joining them, but for some reason I said, you know what, screw my priorities, I'm gonna go have some fun. And it was really, really embarrassing at times. Only to myself. It wasn't anything that you guys might have seen or might have recognized. But it was really, really embarrassing because either in the moment or when I would get back home, I would be like, did I really just reorganize my priorities for the sake of like just hanging out a little bit? And once again, it was one of those things where I literally had to recognize, okay, you know what? I'm prioritizing my friends over myself. I'm prioritizing my friends over my health. I'm prioritizing my friends over my productivity in school, work, whatever. And honestly, I might even just go and say it. That priority wasn't even putting them first. That priority might have been completely selfish and putting my emotions first.
Yeah.
Right? Because even though I'm saying I'm prioritizing my friends, at the end of the day, I'm going out why? I want to have some fun. Right? So it could be both. But learning when to say no. And understanding that chances are you should probably say no rather than yes. And there should never really be a 50-50 balance. You gotta be more assertive. You have to be able to develop that focus to where in those moments, you're saying no more often in order that you are not distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's fun. Talked about that. Another thing that could really that could really help with learning how to eliminate distractions is understanding what is, and this is gonna open up a completely new door. But understanding things that are significant versus insignificant. We've talked about that before. But understanding that things that are significant do require your focus, and things that are insignificant, which usually just come off as petty, you have to just learn how to minimize them so much to where they don't even exist anymore in your life, right? Now, I'm talking about, the petty arguments that, maybe your significant other wants to have. The petty arguments that maybe your parents want to hit you with, which is literally going to lead to absolutely zero productivity. Petty arguments that your siblings want to hit you with. We both have siblings. We both know how they can just sometimes pull things out of a hat just because either they're bored or sometimes they're like emotionally charged.
They know how to get you.
They do. They do. My siblings, not so much. My mom, yeah. My mom, yeah, dude. I really, nothing teaches me how to bite my tongue more than my mom. Crazy. Love her to death.
She's the best person though. Like you have to bite your tongue. Like
You
you can
have
talk
to.
back. You can talk back to your brother. You can talk back to your sister, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes down to your mom, man,
No, yeah, no, absolutely.
you got to do it.
But ignoring petty matters, things that I'm trying to think of like other examples, right? And whenever it comes down to petty matters, I always think of road rage for some reason, right? But I mean, hey, that's a perfect example actually. Don't let road rage take your focus off of driving, because driving is what's keeping you alive. Anyways, learning to ignore petty matters, right? Actually, here's a fun fact, or a fun story rather. My sister just recently went to flipping Rhode Island, right? For a show on a college campus for Ty Dolla $ign, right? And for those of you who don't know, my sister's the stage manager for Ty Dolla $ign as of today, which is April 2023. Anyways.
It's the 25th
of 2023. Yeah. So my sister is the stage manager for Ty Dolla $ign, right? There are certain things that she needs to do that nobody else is in charge of doing, right? There was a touring manager who tried to check her on something in front of everybody. Basically, like, try to humiliate her, try to completely put her on blast, tell her she was doing something wrong. Now, this is something that she does every single time they go on tour. So she knows damn well what she's doing, and she knows she's doing her job. Now, this bothered my sister so much that it ruined her weekend for the entire time they were doing the gig. And then even when she came back, I picked her up from the airport, and she was just raging about this still. And she was like, I know I'm going to get over it in a couple days, but it's really pissing me off. And so she literally asked me the question. She goes, like, how are you good at ignoring petty matters? And I was like, that's exactly it. What were you doing in that moment that he came and checked you? You were doing your job. You were doing what's assigned to you. You're doing your duty. You are focused on the only thing you need to get done, which is the matter at hand. For this guy to come and to distract you from what you're doing, you need to know how to dump that distraction as soon as possible in order that you can finish what you need to finish. That petty matter, that petty argument he wanted to hit you with, is it going to help you do your job? No. Is it going to help you better as a manager? No. Which means what? It's insignificant. You minimize it, and just like children, you ignore it because it's petty.
Plus, you know what? I was thinking about it. If she was to react at that moment to the manager, people would have been like, yo, why aren't you doing your job? Like, why isn't that responsibility that you need to be focusing on now?
Why are you being distracted?
Why is it not being done, right? But she's going to be like, no, but he said that. Bro, they don't care. She still needs to have some sort of duty, that responsibility that needs to be done. They don't care if, you know what I'm saying? They'll be like, yo, get over it. Focus on that. Which would have honestly led her into some big trouble. Then that would have just justified what the guy said.
Mm-hmm.
Of her not doing her job or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's out here arguing with me when she should have been doing XYZ. Why is that? She's not good. Automatically, boom. By just what she did of just continuing, focusing on the matter at hand, she was able to then do what she needs to do. Then later, if she wanted to focus on the petty things, it's up to her.
Mm-hmm.
Because she has time for it. There's absolutely no sense of urgency or responsibilities at that moment in the airplane.
Now I got time.
Whatever it is, you got time.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is. If you want to react to it, it's up to you. I don't, honestly, take my advice. It's not really worth it.
Yep.
Right? Move on. And if anything, that's going to piss the other person off because you're not showing them attention.
Yep.
That's going to make them heated, bro. They're going to hate that. I think another distraction that we can have, and it's huge, man. We can't help it, is the opposite gender, man. just going out, whether it's to a nice restaurant, whether it's to a hookah lounge, or whether it's to any sort of gathering, that is always on our mind. That one moment that you walk in, you look around just for someone that might pique your interest. Where when a person is married, they don't need to focus. That's not their main focus of going out. Their main focus is what's in front of them, which is their friends that they probably haven't seen in a while. But I feel like, man, the opposite genders, it's tough, man, because even if we're all hanging out as a group, eyes are still roaming around. Who's watching me? Who's noticing me? But then that just distracts you completely from having fun, being in the moment with your friends. So that's one thing that kind of just caught my mind.
No, it's a scary example, and it's actually an example that could easily take away not just minutes, because like outside of like outside of the function setting, outside of being out and about at a function, when you're for example either you're in the phase of talking to someone, or you're in the phase where you're a little bit closer than that, minutes, even hours could easily go by from either just a simple chit chat with them, right? How many times were you just like, hey, let's just make a quick phone call? 4 hours goes by.
Mm-hmm.
4 hours goes by. And for some reason, I don't know why, but the number is 4. For some reason, like, I don't know why, but 4 hours just swings through, And then it's like, okay, well, that was a 4-hour phone call. And you're like, wow, I just wasted 4 hours. It was a fun 4 hours, without a doubt, right? Maybe it was relationship building. So, it's we'll call it productive to some degree. But then next thing you know, you're laying in bed late at night texting and texting and texting and texting. 2 a.m. hits. If you don't think you're losing precious moments from your overall focus, you've lost the plot. You've lost the plot. And you need to recognize that someone who becomes significant in your life, they need a time limit unless they 100% need your undivided attention, right? And that's only a situation in which maybe they're sick, right? Maybe they need you to nurse them, take care of them while they're not feeling well. But otherwise, even significant others, you need to know how to put a cap on it. Otherwise, you will completely lose your focus. And that will become your number one distraction, which sets you back miles away from what your goal is. But with that being said, so eliminating distractions definitely is definitely something I got to work on. What about you?
Sure. Of course it is. I would be lying to everyone if I said that.
Bro, I always see you as like, the flipping, the steadfast king, dude. This man just doesn't stop, You got games on your phone?
Dude, perception is reality, man. So that's literally it.
You see what you believe.
Seriously, because so like if you constantly need to be moving. That's the thing about it. The second you stop and you slow down, that is when you start realizing all these distractions start hitting you from left and right, and you're just getting bombarded. Eventually, you stop. Once you've accomplished what task that you've done, how many times have you finished something? And then once you get home, you're like, you know what? I could chill a little bit. That little bit turns in from like 30 minutes to an hour to then you're just calling it a night. So you basically lost the rest of the day of being productive and keeping that momentum going so much where you just stopped. You're like, I deserve some sort of relaxation. And that halts all that momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough just to we've all been in that moment where after a long day at work, we get home, we just want to relax a little bit. There's nothing wrong with relaxing just a little bit. But then eventually getting out of bed and doing what needs to be done, whether it's for us at this moment in our life, it's going to the gym right after we get to work or right after we get back from work. But it's just keeping that momentum going and having the discipline to basically avoid that instant gratification of just eating. Eating turns into laying down. Laying down turns into checking YouTube, going watching a whole bunch of videos, TikToks and this and that. And then eventually just you're knocked out. You're like, screw this. I'm tired. You start feeling a whole bunch of crap about yourself for just wasting the rest of your day. But then just learn how to find it in you to fight everything that just wants to hold you back. Fight it. Fight those voices, fight those urges, and just propel. Just keep on moving. Just keep on going.
I like that transition because it literally becomes like if you don't use that momentum of completing one task into starting a new task, if you don't use that momentum, then the rest of your day will completely be eaten away by distraction. And like you said, it's the ideal example is your typical 9 to 5. We've all been there. We've all done it. You clock out and you go, dude, I'm so mentally fried right now. I remember you were explaining this to me one time. You were like, dude, when I get back home from work, my mom knows it. For the next hour, I'm going to be in my room. My door is shut. Nobody talk to Manic, right? We just need that. And once again, you convince yourself that you deserve it. By all means, you do. You worked a hard shift. You worked a full 8 hours, whatever.
8 hours.
Right. Whatever your shift was, you worked your hard shift, and now you're just like, okay, I'm gonna need a little bit of a break, and then maybe I can get up and get something done again. But your entire day usually is gonna just get eaten up by distractions. And what scared me the most about having a job was exactly that. Because every time I would wake up in the morning and clock in to whatever my job was, I told myself, I am going to dedicate the necessary hours towards my job, and then after my job is done for today, I'm going to dedicate the rest of the day towards myself. And typically what myself was yes, getting a workout in, but then trying to get it done in order that I can start focusing on developing some sort of a business, some sort of a side hustle. But then once again, the end of the day comes for your job, and you're like, dude, I deserve a break. And so I would typically break off that momentum, and I would just let the productivity die with the rest of my day right there.
I'll do it tomorrow. It's the biggest lie we could tell ourselves.
Yeah, procrastination is such a dirty beast.
You're a dirty beast.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
But at the same time, just as we're almost always supposed to be on go mode, like mental health is still so important. Your own well-being is so important. So just how we focus on a lot of our goals and tasks and, all this other 1-year plan, 5-year plan, families, business, ventures, so on and so forth, all these responsibilities, you also need to focus on yourself, on your own well-being. Whether it's you're going to hustle all year and then take a vacation across the world, whether it's going on a nice drive through the canyons, drive down PCH, whatever it may be, whatever you find your release is, your peace. You can't forget to not focus on yourself. Now, that doesn't turn to or give you a whole reason to the whole thing of, I deserve this. You do deserve it. You're right. But that shouldn't be the reason for always taking breaks, for always letting off the gas. You should then limit your time off. That way you're constantly in motion, constantly going through with it. But then from time to time, whenever you take that break, that's going to feel so good. That moment, that peace of you traveling in a different part of the world and everything else, it makes it so much more worth it at the moment. So don't forget to treat yourself, to focus on yourself and unwind a little bit. But then from there, after you're done doing whatever needs to be done, get back on it.
Yeah, you definitely have to learn how to unwind. I always find it really interesting because, alhamdulillah, we've done some traveling together, and it's always funny when you travel for a few days and you're away from everything, and productivity and work is just completely out of your mind. It's always interesting how a few days in, it's almost as if like you've got your fill as if you were eating. You got your satisfaction, you've got your fill of the fun times, and then even while you're still on vacation, some part of you literally goes, this is so weird to say, but I'm ready to go back to work. You have to learn how to unwind.
I love that feeling, though.
I love that feeling.
Oh, I love it. Like, you're so eager just to get back home and just...
No David Goggins, nothing. You don't need no motivation.
Yep.
That right there is enough for you to just flip and hit the ground running when you get back.
But that's just because we found our unwind. We found what makes us happy. That makes us just re-energizes ourselves.
Just release.
In order for us to get back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Which we all need to recharge.
Yeah.
You got to find your recharge. You got to find what recharges you,
Absolutely. No, definitely learn how to unwind, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through, simple time on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a phone call to a friend, whatever the case is, anything that helps you unwind. Hey, some people it's Netflix. All right, cool. By all means, you go ahead. Learn to unwind because it's definitely, at the end of the day, what's the point of talking personal development? What's the point of talking growth if your mind is not in the right space? So we wanted to bring this conversation back full circle to, the general topic, which we were talking about, what makes a man, and how does focus find itself involved in this conversation of what makes a man. The reality of the situation is a man without focus is a man who cannot achieve. A man who cannot achieve is a man who cannot provide. A man who cannot provide is only going to put their family, their potential spouse, their potential children,
Their well-being, their own
the
well-being.
well-being of themselves and their personal family. A man without focus is only going to put them in a situation where they are unsupported, where they are struggling, which will build nothing but an array of mental issues, physical issues, health issues, and all of that, all of the above. So a man without focus, like we said, is a man who cannot achieve, and a man who cannot achieve is a man who cannot provide. And with that being said, how do you unwind, Vanek?
I travel. That's my biggest unwind. And then also another one is I've always loved going on drives. Sometimes just by myself, whether it's just down PCH. Doesn't have to be a long drive, but I find peace in that.
What's funny is I really enjoy driving. Not. I enjoy a nice drive, but I've never in my life was just like, dude, I'm stressed out. I need to unwind. Let me go for a drive. I don't know why, because I feel like it's
Everyone's
like
different. It may not
no,
work
no,
for you.
absolutely. Everyone's different, but I feel like the way my mind thinks about it is just like, wow, am I really gonna go unwind by wasting all this gas? So I'm just like, no, not the option. This is not happening. Let me go hit the gym. Let me go for a walk. For me, it's always physical fitness. It's always do something active or definitely travel. Definitely travel. Here's the thing. I'll trip out about wasting gas to just go on a quote unquote drive, but I won't trip out on wasting the gas to go to the beach, to go to the mountains, to go to somewhere with a nice view to unwind. But just to drive itself, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. All right, either way, we thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the King of Average podcast. It's been BB
Melik.
and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace. Pull up.